we've talked before about Arsenal. I think you said it last week about the fact that perhaps they play with a handbrake on against Manchester City. Here, did the handbrake come off?
Well, it had to. And what Mikel Arteta did was he made substitutions, but he took his left-back off and didn't put a left-back on. And that was in the 70th minute. So I always think of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, I always think about the word control. He wants to control every facet of the game, really. But the control's gone here because the players aren't quite sure what's going on. So you see Trossard come over. He's on the left wing. He's thinking, am I a left-back? Am I a left winger? So he's then got to go and pass on that message. And this is probably where Arteta doesn't really want to be. He likes to control everything, as I said. Moreno there, he's come across. He's one of the subs who's come on with the double substitution with Calafiori and Saka coming off. And he's still needing more instructions. Again, so the play, so it's a little bit like, get on with it, work it out yourselves. But they still want that instruction, but needs must. It was a game they had to get something from. He comes on again, talking to Trossard, passing on information. But in terms of the setup and how they went about it, it went to almost a 3-4-3. So we see that back three. There's no left back. Gabriel's job is to be sort of left centre back and the left back, really. And midfield four. But actually what was really interesting was Ødegaard found himself deeper. Zubamendi came off. He went into that deeper role and was fantastic and changed the game. And as we said, Trossard wasn't sure if he was a left back or a left winger. He's on the last line and you've got your front three there. So that was the change that Mikel Arteta made. And this is the build-up to the first goal and where they get the corner from. There. So it comes in, they're really clever here, Declan Rice especially, but again, he was just pulling the strings from that holding midfield position. Ødegaard was fantastic there. Declan Rice, and they almost get something from it, and it's Declan Rice who's involved in the corner. I'm not sure it's something they've worked on, they've just had a little bit of space, bit of time, but his delivery is just fantastic. And Moreno, whatever people say about him, he gets your goals. Hat-trick for Spain as well a few weeks ago. But just keep an eye on Arteta. I think once it goes to 1-1, he's already speaking to his coach, thinking, what do we do here? Do we stick with playing with no left-back, or do we get Miles Lewis-Skelly on? I think this attack forces him in some ways to think, no, we've got to change it, because look what happens, because the players are a little bit all over themselves. They end up with the players here, almost like a back four. Ødegaard at right-back, Saliba 15 yards behind, Rice in a semi-central midfield, centre-back position, and Gabriel looking after Elanga here at left-back. We run it on from there, so you see the positions the players find themselves in, but also, now Newcastle have got to be a bit more on the front foot. They're not hanging on to something. The first time they really attack, as soon as Arsenal have equalised, they almost get a penalty. So Guimaraes there, I think, goes past Ødegaard. He's not a holding midfield player defensively. Gabriel's in that left centre-back, left-back area, and I think as soon as that situation happens where it could have maybe gone, a penalty could have happened, I think you make the decision then, I've got to get Miles Lewis-Skelly on. So he gets back that little bit of control that Mikel Arteta likes. And then, again, we see the system now where Declan Rice, Miles Lewis-Skelly wide left. But I want to go back to this man, Martin Ødegaard, who I think changed the game when he came on. He knows that pass from Declan Rice is coming to him. He's already scanning where I can hit Newcastle. He's already looking. He knows the ball's coming to him. He sees that space in between the two Newcastle defenders, and that is absolutely world-class play. He knows it's coming. He's scanning. He's scanning. Can he get the ball through the eye of a needle? Yes. Miles Lewis-Skelly's made that run, and he was the difference when he came on. And what I would say about him, it then goes for a corner, and then we'll get to Martin Ødegaard shortly. But they cleared that one, and I'm sure, like I was as a Liverpool supporter watching at home, I'm looking at the goalkeeper when he's caught it, Pope, and thinking, oh no. But Pope just before that had done a brilliant throw out and almost got Elanga away, and he's trying to do the same thing, but plays right into Arsenal's hands, and they don't go and get another corner from that. Ball comes in, and what I would say with this corner, we can analyse it, you know, Saliba blocks the goalkeeper, Gabriel does fantastic. What I would say about Gabriel now, watching him for the last 2 years, he's becoming a real leader for that club. And I always felt Saliba was on a different level to Gabriel. I think they're on the same level. I think he's fantastic what he does at both ends of the pitch. But what I would say is this was a massive win for Arsenal. It felt huge. Even though it's only September, it felt big. But what I would say is that the 2 goals still came from set pieces, which is fine. We know the record from them. I think if they are to go on and win the league, what we saw Ødegaard do on the ball in the lead up to the corner, they're going to need more of that. People between the lines, because a lot of that second half, putting on pressure, but not creating a lot, and it was always around set pieces. If they can get Martin Ødegaard back to where he was a couple of years ago, in those positions, threading passes through, that would give them a great chance of the league title.
With those two home defeats, obviously different story away from home, one by hatfuls away from home, but at home those two defeats back to back. I think you've only lost 4 of your last 42 home Premier League games, and half of them have been against West Ham, and they've become a bogey team.
Well, and that's actually the difficulty of that, and the game that we're going to have to play tomorrow as well, and with a new manager, and we know Nuno really well and the way he sets his team, so we expect a really tough match that's going to demand again 3 days later to come back and have the same performance to win the game.
And to win, go top of the table, even if it's only for a couple of hours, potentially though top of the table into the international break. How important would that be for building the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's about generating momentum, and there are periods in the season that they are capital, and tomorrow's game is a really important one for us, and that's why from the beginning we need to generate that, the stadium as well, and go for it, because after we have 2 weeks break with the international, well, we'll have to wait and see after training. We've done almost nothing today, so see how everybody is, but we weren't too concerned about him.
And that hasn't changed. Your not being concerned hasn't changed too much in the meantime.
Yeah.
With Nkapia, what's the latest on him?
He will be available after the international break. So we've been trying to everything as fast as possible, but this came too fast, and now we have the break, international break, and hopefully after that he will have a couple of sessions with the team and ready to go.
And with Kai, Noni and Gabby the same?
They're still out there.
Yeah.